Okay, so bro, look, you have how he wants it is that way. And let's reset so that we can know. Now he says he how he does it is he separates these muscles into the superficial ones and the deep ones. Okay? The superficial ones
So should
are
I write they are separated into superficial and deep?
yes, because the issue starts like that. Superficial and deep muscles of the neck. Okay? Superficial and deep muscles of the neck.
Okay.
Now what he does, he let's start with the superficial first. Superficial muscles splits into lateral superficial and medial superficial. Lateral superficial and medial superficial. Okay? So now the lateral, he doesn't even consider platysma part of it. Okay? So uh, lateral superficial muscles, first he wants sternocleidomastoid.
Okay, what was the
Okay.
superficial?
Lateral superficial muscles and medial superficial muscles.
وهلا نبلش باللاترال.
Now we're going to start with lateral and it's just one.
Okay.
The lateral superficial muscle that he likes is the sternocleidomastoid, and I'm going to select both of them.
Mm.
Where are we hiding it? No, remove the platysma. Um, second. Now I'm going to select. So, uh, okay. So lateral and medial, sorry, lateral superficial and medial superficial. The lateral superficial is the sternocleidomastoid, right and left. Okay.
Mm.
Let's name them, and then we can go into details. Okay, I'm going to hide both. We got rid of them. The next thing after that, he says medial superficial. Medial superficial. Now we were in the lateral, right? We removed lateral
Mm.
here. Now he says medial superficial. Okay? And the medial superficial, he set it into four.
Okay.
Uh, Sternohyoid, sternothyroid, thyrohyoid, and omohyoid, which are the infrahyoid muscles.
Can you say them again? Sternohyoid.
Sternohyoid,
Mm.
omohyoid.
Do I need to write superior belly?
Yeah, we of course, omohyoid is separated into superior and inferior belly, but just the names now. Sternohyoid, omohyoid,
Okay.
sternothyroid,
Okay.
and thyrohyoid. These are the infrahyoid muscles, and this group, he refers to them as the median superficial.
These are the what group? Before you said medial superficial.
Medial,
These
su-
are the
yes. So lateral superficial muscles, okay,
yes,
and
sternocleidomastoid.
yes, and medial superficial. The lateral superficial, sternocleidomastoid. The medial superficial is made up of the infrahyoid muscles. Infrahyoid means the muscles below the hyoid, right?
Okay.
So that's the hyoid bone. Muscles below.
Mm.
These are the medial superficial. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just to remind you, Anas, that we took suprahyoid. They were part of the third oral issue.
Yes.
Now we are taking infrahyoid, part of the fourth. Okay.
Mm.
And so far we have five muscles. Sternocleidomastoid makes the lateral superficial. Infrahyoid muscles make up the medial superficial, which are made up of sternohyoid, sternothyroid, thyrohyoid, omohyoid. Okay? These are the names.
Yes.
All right. Now we're gonna go to the deep. So we separated the superficial into two groups, the laterals and the medial. That's superficial. We remove them now. We remove all of them to go to the deep. Okay? I'm gonna remove all of them. Okay, I removed all of them. You see, we cleared the superficial muscles. Deal?
Yes.
Now we go deep. Okay, deep, he also divides them into deep lateral and deep medial. And they're usually related to the vertebra because they
Just
attach.
give me a second. Divided into the deep and the lateral.
Deep lateral, deep medial. Because deep muscles separate into lateral and medial. Okay?
Mm.
And these are the two groups, deep lateral vertebral muscles, deep medial vertebral muscles.
Okay. Fine.
Okay? Now we're going to dive into the first group, deep lateral vertebral muscles. Lateral vertebral muscles, main functions. Okay? Or the names now. First, the deep lateral vertebral. They're made up of levator scapulae and the scalene. Here, look.
Is it all the skeleton?
Yes. Levator scapulae and the scalenes made up of posterior, middle, anterior.
Okay.
These are the deep lateral vertebral muscles. Because look, they all attach to the vertebra.
Okay.
Okay. And then finally, well, not finally, but let's just quit this one and use the second image. Sorry. Okay. Oh, sorry. So, deep lateral, levator scapulae, and scalenes. Okay.
Yes.
Now, deep medial, look, deep medial, you have all of those. Longus coli, deep medial. Longus coli, longus
Okay.
captus, rectus captus anterior, rectus capital, capitis lateral,
Okay.
and all of the suboccipital muscles. Rectus capitis posterior major, rectus capitis posterior minor,
الله أكبر يا زلمة.
oblique capitis interior, sorry, inferior, oblique capitis superior. It's not interior, it is inferior.
Can I not just only write the suboccipital muscles?
Suboccipital, you have to name them. أيوه. Because look, isn't there rectus capitis anterior?
Mm.
There's rectus capitis posterior. The anterior, okay, so rectus capitis anterior, rectus capitis posterior, rectus capitis lateral. The posterior has major and minor. Okay, so these are the deep medial. Again, we have finished writing them. Let's repeat them. So, عندك Anas, the nice thing about this point is that it's a lot. Okay, and if you
Mm.
have it, always go with how he classifies it, the names, and then dive into two or like dive into one to two groups that is easy to say with the deep.
Mm.
That's how we study smart. So first, how he classifies it into superficial and deep. That's the first thing. Okay. Now, in the superficial, he classifies two groups, the lateral superficial and the medial superficial. Okay. And I will show you on the animation so that we can go them together. I'm going to reset. So look, He says, I want to classify the muscles of the neck into lateral and in superficial and deep. Now, in the superficial, he classifies them into superficial means closer to the skin, into laterals and medial. Okay? Now, the lateral, first one, sternocleidomastoid. That's the only thing in the lateral superficial.
Mm.
The median superficial, we have four, which are the infrahyoid muscles. We have omohyoid, we have sternohyoid, we have sternothyroid, we have thyroid. And they're on both sides, right and left, okay? So now we
Yes.
finish this. Now we are done with the superficial, خلاص. Okay?
Yes.
Now we go into the deep. And in the deep, he divides them also into lateral vertebral and medial vertebral. So we have
Mm.
deep lateral vertebral, deep medial vertebral. And so in the deep lateral vertebral, we have the levator scapulae, number one. We hide it. And then we have the scalenes, posterior scalene, middle scalene, anterior scalene, of course, on both sides. طيب. We don't need the trapezius because it's not part of this. Now he says, I want you to mention to me the uh, deep median vertebral muscles. The deep median vertebral muscles, he has longus coli, longus capitis, rectus capitis posterior, rectus capitis lateral. Okay, I'm done with the main ones. Now I'm gonna go to the suboccipital, below the occipital bone. There's also four. Rectus capitis posterior major, rectus capitis posterior minor, oblique. What was it called? Oblique capitis inferior, oblique capitis superior. Okay, so we don't want these. We don't want these. We don't want these. These are more muscles, of course, in the neck, but he didn't name them. But these here are the four. You see suboccipital, it's below the occipital muscle. You have
Mm.
rectus capitis posterior minor, rectus capitis posterior major. Then you have oblique capitis inferior, oblique capitis superior. Okay?
Mm. Oblique capitis posterior and anterior.
Oblique capitis superior and inferior, not anterior.
Okay.
Okay. And this is rectus capitis lateralis. You can see it here. And then you have anterior rectus capitis. Okay. And then we have the longest. No, that's not it. I wanted to find these actually. Um, yes, longest coli right here. Longest coli. And of course, longest capitis. That's it. That's the muscles he needs.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, Now my advice. Look, bro. When you memorize this, put a point near your in your notes. You have superficial, deep, medial, and lateral, right?
Mm.
Memorize in detail sternocleidomastoid. And let's do
Okay.
it. Let's do it. Okay, I'll give you the ones that you should memorize in detail so that you don't have to say the hardest things. Sternocleidomastoid, let's start with it. Sternocleidomastoid originates originates
Mm.
near the clavicle and the sternum. From the sternum and from the clavicle. Okay? Originates, يعني it comes out of sternum and
Mm.
clavicle. Inserts mastoid process. That's sternocleidomastoid.
Okay.
Action of this muscle, flexion of the head and neck in lateral way. Um you say I don't know if you know how Indians are famous for doing this head motion when they talk. That's the exact motion of it. Uh,
Mm.
Flexion of the head and neck laterally from right to left. Okay.
Okay.
Nerve supply, the accessory nerve. And if you remember, it was the
Spinal root.
spinal root that innervates sternocleidomastoid and the trapezius.
Mm.
Okay. Now, the next thing that you should know is the medial superficial because they're easy. From the
Okay.
name, you know, sternohyoid from sternum to hyoid bone. Sternum to hyoid bone. Okay, that's origin insertion. Action, they depress. If they're below infrahyoid, they depress the hyoid bone. It moves down. All of them are like this.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you have studied the cervical plexus, but there is a
Yes, I have.
in it called ansa cervicalis,
Mm.
and the superior root of ansa cervicalis innervates sternohyoid.
It's from C1 to C3, right? It's a loop.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and those supply the sternum.
C1 to, yes, exactly.
It's a motor innervation, right?
Yes,
That's why we
exactly.
can move them.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
It's from C1 to C3. C1 gives a root to it, and then C2 and C3 they join to give the other branch of ansa cervicalis.
Mm.
Okay. Now, sternohyoid, sternothyroid, from sternum to thyroid gland. Sternum to thyroid gland. Again, action depresses the hyoid.
Origins from sternohyoid gland.
No, no, no. Origin,
Origin posterior surface of
yes, of manubrium, basically sternum. Or insertion, because it's sternothyroid, so thyroid cartilage, not hyoid, okay? Thyroid cartilage, sternothyroid. It's thyroid cartilage, okay?
Mm.
Action, because in this region, the hyoid bone is pulled. Like if you pull on anything, it will like kind of also pull the hyoid bone. So it also depresses the hyoid bone, okay?
Mm.
Nerve supply, again, ansa cervicalis.
Okay.
Now, the omohyoid is made up of superior belly and inferior belly.
Okay.
They both originate from this intermediate tendon. They originate from here. And if they originate from here, the superior belly would attach to the hyoid bone.
Only the spray one.
Yes, only the superior one to the hyoid bone. The inferior one, look at it. It inserts into superior
Mm.
border of scapula.
CPA angle.
No, no, not superior angle.
Insert intermediate
Like upper
insertion.
border, the upper border, superior border, not angle. That's the angle. That's the border.
Okay.
Okay. Function again depresses the hyoid bone. Finally, thyrohyoid. Thyrohyoid from thyroid gland to hyoid bone. That's the origin insertion.
But what was the nerve supply on hyoid? Was it ansa cervicalis too?
That's a good question. One second, let me check. I forgot that one actually. Omohyoid, yes, it's ansa cervicalis, as far as I remember. But let me see. Yes, but the inferior root.
Okay.
You're right, ansa cervicalis. And the thyrohyoid, finally. Thyrohyoid. Thyroid cartilage and hyoid bone. That's origin insertion. Again,
ال الثايرويد كارتلج هو اللي باللارynx فوقيه.
thyroid cartilage, exactly.
اوكي.
Action depresses this one, depresses the hyoid bone, and you can say superior root of ansa cervicalis. So infrahyoid muscles, they are innervated by cervical plexus and the cervicalis, C1 to C3. Okay.
مم.
These from until now, superficial muscles you have to memorize completely, completely,
يس.
and they're easy. They're not hard until now. Okay. Now the deep is where things become so hard. Okay. The deep is where things become so hard. Um, you can see how the origins and insertions are different for all. You can see that um, the muscles originate from transverse processes of different vertebrae, like C1 to C4 for levator scapulae, C2 to C7 for scalenes. Do you see? And then the
مم.
is a bit different. I'm advising to stop your detailed memorization for what you have done so far. If you want to go further, if you want to go further,
يعني I don't need those.
yes, if you want to go further, I would advise you to memorize rectus captus anterior, rectus captus lateral, because they're nothing. Atlas occipital bone, atlas occipital bone. You see it?
wait يعني احفظ بس الريكتوس كابتس anterior.
And rectus captus lateral,
اوكي.
because origin and insertion of both is easy. Origin of rectus captus anterior is atlas, insertion occipital bone. Same for here, atlas and occipital bone. And the only hard things left for you is levator scapulae, all the scalenes, longus coli, longus capitis. These are the hardest things. The others, I don't need you to memorize the origin insertion. It's just names. But you can see when you start doing, like, memorize what I told you until now. If you have brain capacity, go to levator scapulae, the scalenes, longus coli, longus capitis, because these are the confusing ones. Yeah, you start having transfer processes of different cervical vertebrae, and that can confuse you.
اوكي.
طيب, so that's my advice
The
of how.
ones I really need to do is the rectus capitis anterior وال lateral one.
Yes, why? Is because it's easiest.
Yes, and شو كان غيرهم؟
And then the hardest is what's left. The hardest for you left is these the deep deep lateral vertebral.
مم.
Okay, they are hard, and from the deep medial
مم.
vertebral, you have longus coli and longus capitis that are the hardest ones. Okay, here just
مم.
say names. You don't need to know origin insertion.
اوكي.
So that's my advice for you. يعني keep your oral issue long, but say first the things that are easiest to say and keep the hardest part till the end in hopes of him moving you forward. I'm telling you, he will, because this answer is forever.
اوكي.
And this is how you structure your memorization. Memorize the easiest things first, and there are a lot, actually. The easiest things are a lot. And
يس.
take your time while memorizing it and saying it to him, and then leave the hardest things to the end. Just know that their names exist. If you have memorizing capacity, do it. If not, خلاص.
اوكي.
Okay. All right. So this point is done. Do you have any questions? Everything on this I've sent you the screenshots of it on your chat.
مم.
But you have written how we need to say it. You have
Yes.
written origins insertions of some of them so that your answer is complete. The hardest ones that I want you to memorize, keep them till the end if you have memorization capacity with. If not, alas, leave them. Just know
Okay.
them. Okay.
طيب.
All right. Um, all right. So now we have done muscles.
Oh, we're not done with the issue.
Uh,
ما
where
خلصت الإيشو؟
no, it's done, bro.
قلت لي بدك تكمل يا زلمة.
No, no, no. This issue is done. خلاص. Superficial and deep muscle of the neck. خلاص, it's done. Okay. 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 طيب. Now.
شوف التريانجلز اوف ذا نيك
Hmm.
اخذتها من احمد، بس البوردرز يا زلمه ليش بيختلفوا عن بعض كلهم؟
Yes, of course they have to differ because these triangles.
يعني how should I memorize that it only has a يعني شو اسمه السب mandibular triangle anterior border I don't know what يعني كيف بدي اتذكر شو هن البوردرز.
You have to memorize it as it is and you have to imagine it. يعني مثلا I'll show you. I'll show you, bro. Look, I don't know how he gave it to you, but
didn't بس كتابة يعني بدون ما يفرجيني.
ah, that doesn't work, bro. Look, this is your posterior triangle.
امم
Can you read your borders on the posterior triangle?
This give me- on the posterior triangle. بلشنا نكتب they are divided into two compartments, the anterior and the posterior compartment. The posterior compartment is the occipital triangle and the subclavian triangle.
Okay, so bro, slowly. شو قال لك؟ قال لك انت you have anterior and posterior, right?
Yes.
And in general, you have two big triangles, the anterior and the posterior.
Okay. Yes.
طيب. Now, the posterior is divided into two.
Yes. Occipital and subclavian.
Exactly. One second. Exactly. The-
ال contents I understand them بس انه ال borders
طيب اعطيني البوردرز تبع السبكليفيان. Did he give it to you?
to the subclavian. Yes.
What's the borders?
Anterior border sternocleidomastoid. The
Yes.
superior border is the inferior belly of omohyoid,
Yes.
and the inferior border is the clavicle.
Exactly. Now, I'll show you how. I understand that you're confused, but I'll make it a bit easier. Let me just stop this one. Wait, let me just stop this one.